Hannah Burner, are those the cozy Tommy John pajamas you're buying?
Paige DeSorbo, they are Tommy John. And yes, I'm stocking up because they make the best holiday gifts.
So generous.
Well, I'm a generous girly, especially when it comes to me. So I'm grabbing the softest sleepwear, comfiest underwear, and best fitting loungewear.
So nothing for your bestie.
Of course, I'm getting my dad, Tommy John. Oh, and you, of course.
It's giving holiday gifting made easy.
Exactly. Cozy, comfy, everyone's happy. Gift everyone on your list, including yourself, with Tommy John and get 40% off site-wide right now at TommyJohn.com/comfort.
Maybe you like cooking. Maybe you don't. Either way, the new Blue Apron is for you. Because along with our classic meal kits, we're offering new pre-made and one-pan meals to help you get dinner on the table fast. And now there's no subscription needed, so you can just order and enjoy. Do delicious food your way. Shop 100+ meals at BlueApron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit BlueApron.com/terms for more.
The kettle's boiled, Vic.
Great. Perfect timing. Just a dash of milk for me, please, mate.
Here you go. Shall we get started then?
Have you ever woken up on a Sunday morning and said, I'm never drinking again, and then found yourself waving $50 at a barman by happy hour?
Are you wondering why everyone else can stop at 1 while you head to a dodgy after-party with a weird bloke called Disco Dave? If so, it might be time to take a deeper look at your relationship with your reliable social crutch, alcohol.
On each episode, we'll investigate our own dysfunctional dealings with booze and find out if it's possible to stop this deeply ingrained habit before things get too messy.
Yep, we're going to open up a shame shed of humiliating drinking stories to help you understand why waking up from a booze coma each weekend with a kebab sticking out of your top pocket might actually be negatively impacting your health.
Hamish and I are here to delve into what it's like being sober, an unwanted warts and all look into why giving up those cheeky pints or putting down those mummy wines will make you feel happier, help your anxiety and mental health, and turn you into the most sparkly, authentic version of you.
Won't that mean I become boring though, Vic?
Well, Hamish, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm Victoria Vanstone.
I'm Hamish Adams-Cairns.
And this is Sober Awkward. So how open are you with your feelings, Alan?
Quite open, really.
Oh, that surprises me.
Yeah, I feel like I've got the runs again. Hang on, I've got to go.
Is that his way of not expressing his true emotions to us?
Just run away to the bathroom like you always do, Alan.
Just run away and pretend you've got diarrhoea. He's just slammed the door. He's disappeared.
So yeah, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Alan's diarrhoea.
Yeah, what? We're going to delve deep into the squishy insides of our favourite sound man to find out the real cause and effect of his irregular bowel movements.
What an episode that would make.
Please, no.
We'll actually be focusing on men's problems with their communication and how this can affect their mental health.
Yes, not men's bottoms functions. We understand that focusing on men's mental health is too broad a subject to squeeze into one 40-minute episode, so I hope that I can use my sober gimp as an example. We can gain insight into why some men struggle to open up in the same way as women. More importantly, we want to figure out what role alcohol has to play in it all.
We're sticking with sober gimp, are we?
We're sticking with the gimp.
We want to discuss not only how alcohol can be the cause of mental health issues, but also delve into the dangers of using it as a means of self-medication.
Although this episode might come across as one of the heavier ones with less anecdotes of our various drunken mishaps, we cannot underestimate how important this topic is.
We hope that anyone listening of any gender who is going through a tough time is encouraged to reach out for help. It might just save your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Although this episode is about men, Vic, I'm actually really excited to get the female perspective on it. A lot of men's inner dialogue concerns what we believe others, particularly women, I reckon, want from us. But I hope that by being open with you and hearing what women actually feel, we might be able to dispel some of those myths.
All I want is chocolate and to be left alone from men.
Okay, easy to read your mind.
That's it. Nothing else is going on up here. I guess it goes without saying that as a woman, we create stories in our heads of what someone feels about us. And alcohol can feed that beast, of course. Rather than being level-headed, our anxieties can take control, particularly if we're drunk or hungover. I'm definitely guilty of that. We fall into the trap of worrying more about what people think of us than how we feel about ourselves.
Shall we get started with the numbers, Vic?
Yeah, take it away, Hamish.
On average, 1 in 8 men will experience depression, and 1 in 5 men will experience anxiety at some stage of their lives.
Blokes make up an average of 7 out of every 9 suicides every day in Australia.
That is wild to me.
That is, yeah.
The number of men who die by suicide in Australia is nearly double the national road toll.
But it's not just suicide we're talking about here. Men are also more likely than women to die from destructive coping mechanisms like drugs and alcohol.
The rate of mental health disorders between men and women is about the same, but fewer men access professional help or a service. In fact, men account for only 40% of Medicare subsidised mental health services in Australia.
So what this really boils down to is, why do men feel less comfortable than women to discuss their mental health? And what can be done to save you from turning to the bottle when you're struggling?
Let's begin by talking about our own experiences, Vic. So rather than focus on mental health, I want to talk more about struggling to communicate.
Yes.
That is something that I've definitely felt more. In my last relationship, I used to get criticised for being kind of like an emotionless wall. And I often thought, why am I that way? Because I don't feel like I'm that way, but I'm clearly not communicating my emotions well enough. Because I know that I'm not a wall. But yeah, you think that I am. And I've went out with her for 5.5 years,
Right.
So I obviously didn't show every side of me. So I wondered a lot about, why am I this way? Why am I not open about this? And ironically, that relationship ending opened up something in me where now I am very open about talking about my emotions, and I cry in front of people more.
Okay, that's good.
Really, the breakup, I cried, every day for ages, but
Yeah.
always alone.
Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like I'd be quite comfortable crying in front of someone.
When you were sad and alone and crying
Yeah.
after the breakup of that relationship, did you feel the need to talk to anyone about it?
I didn't. Part of me only wanted to talk about it, and part of me didn't want to bore people by being one of those people that just talks about their ex. And I was very conscious of that. I was like, I don't want to ruin your day by calling you up when you're having a lovely weekend and being like, I am having a terrible time every day trying to deal with this thing that's happened to me.
So that's what you're saying there, is that you were self-conscious about your emotions.
Yeah.
So isn't that strange? So there's I am, like, pouring it all over people, not really caring how they judge me, especially if I was talking to a woman. But for you, for a male, you were scared of what people might think of you, perhaps because they thought you were weak.
Yes. And I wonder if more men feel this, which is, it's very difficult, I think, to talk about your emotions or a heartbreak or cry in front of another man or in front of a group of men. So unless you've got some really close friends who are women, who you feel more comfortable going there with. I'm lucky, I've got 1 or 2 that I feel really comfortable going there with. They don't get talking about, You might share your emotions with your partner, but if that relationship breaks down, you're pretty much left up shit's creek. There's no one you can turn to. So I felt that quite a lot. I was happy to talk about breakup with a girlfriend, but really not with a guy friend all that comfortably.
Did you drink at all during that period? Did you drink more than you...
You get given, with any breakup, you get given lots of crap advice.
Yeah.
And I think almost all the advice I got given was crap. Sleep around, throw yourself into your career, go out more, all of that. Hopeless to me. I did not go out more. I did not feel like partying. So I didn't turn to drink. I was living at home.
Yes.
So
that's good.
Yeah, I didn't think I'll just get hammered every day. There was a few situations, like her birthday, I got blackout drunk.
Right, yeah.
And I was actually at Kit Harington's house.
Yeah.
He had a party and I went to his house. And in his office at the top floor, he's got a whiteboard. And I wrote on this whiteboard, I love Portia, who is his sister-in-law, who's an old mate of mine.
Yeah.
And the next morning I was told that was a permanent marker.
Oh, no.
And I remember texting his wife different solutions I found on Google of how to get permanent marker off a whiteboard. I was like, oh God, it's not often I get to go to like a cool party, and I got so drunk. I think because it was my ex's birthday that,
permanent marker.
I did that, yeah.
You just reminded me of a story. I once, as a joke, I was painting my bedroom and had went out I was living in Brighton at the time, went out and got really drunk and came back and the pot of paint, red paint, was still in my bedroom. And I was really drunk and I wrote red rum, like murder backwards with it all dripping down the walls, thinking it was really, really funny. And in the morning I woke up to, red rum on my bedroom wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo.
So yeah, I think I definitely struggled a lot with communicating emotions. I actually think what helped me was going to a drama school.
Okay,
I went to a posh English boarding school.
Yeah.
Pretty one-dimensional conversations with lads, lad culture, don't really get into it.
Yeah.
Everyone's straight. Everyone's parents have one of 3 jobs. It's quite a small world. And
Daddy's in the city. Mummy owns an antique shop.
yeah, mummy stays at home, doesn't work. Dad's a lawyer or a doctor or insurance or a
Go to a shooting lord in South Africa every summer.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most of my friends went to those schools. But then I went to drama school where, sure, you can talk about how you got to get into your emotions to be a good actor. But I think that's bollocks. I think you just met a bigger range of people who their emotions were right there for all to see. And I think that helped unlock something in me and open up a little bit more.
Yeah, so you're amongst people who accept you no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem for men is sometimes in a group of men or your mates, you're not sure what level is okay or what level is of emotion is going to be accepted in that group. And that can be a problem.
But you're not brave enough to assume that whatever you say will be okay. All of your best mates love you.
Of course they do.
So no one is going to be shaken if you're like, can I talk about this terrible thing that I'm experiencing right now? But most people, myself included for years, are too scared to pick up the phone and say, can we talk about something crap rather than can we talk about the football or something funny that we saw today.
Yeah, it's a shame. So I do definitely agree, Hamish, here that men's mental health and women's mental health is very, very different. Yeah, for me, my mental health has come up at various times of my life. I am somebody who struggles occasionally with their mental health. It's very rare, but when it does happen, of course, it feels huge and I feel all it's very strange and wobbly. The problem with mental health for men and women is that it can be invisible for others, which is exactly what I had. I had panic attacks in my early 20s. That was my first real solid experience of feeling mentally unwell. I lost friends because people couldn't see my pain. And I think that's something we're going to talk a bit later about, Hamish.
Do these panic attacks happen in private rather than publicly?
No, a few times they happened publicly and people were there to try and calm me down, but they can't see your mental anguish when you're feeling like that. I felt like I was going mad a lot of the time. Well, in fact, for about a year, I had a bit of a drug overdose. I took too much ecstasy in my early 20s when I was a proper party girl, and that had consequences, which led me into feeling really, really unwell. And it's not like having a jippy knee or a cut on your head. Nobody could see what was going on inside me, and the more I spoke about it, the more mad I felt. Trying to explain to someone what was going on in my head was too hard, and I could feel when the words were coming out that I could see that I sounded mad. Therefore, I shut it off. So I know what we're talking about here when men shut things off. I felt that too as a woman at one stage, that I didn't want to talk about it with people because I didn't want to be a downer. I didn't want to bring people into my turmoil, involve them in my whirlwind that was going on at that time. And I was really poorly. I ended up moving back home with my parents. I got therapy, cognitive behavioural therapy in the end. And I was able to talk about it to the people that I needed to. I had to tell my mum and dad what I'd done, and it had been burning the candle at two ends for too long, and that I needed help. So I did talk about it quite early on, and I took the process I needed to get better. Since then, I've had a couple of other wobbly moments throughout my life. The one recently that I had was that my son Freddie nearly died. He had a choking incident, which we now found out is epilepsy, and I thought I saw my child die before my eyes. The actual moment in itself, of course, was the most traumatic thing that's ever happened in my entire life. And at the time, I dealt with it very well. I was screaming on the side of the road, but I dealt with it in a way where I went into action and did everything that I could to save his life.
So what are the repercussions of that been, I suppose?
Well, I think the repercussions were that I was in some sort of trauma state for 3 weeks after that. And that caused my mental health to deteriorate over that period. And I had to carry on because I was on holiday actually, and I had my 3 kids with me. We were in a camper van and we had to get on with it. We had to get on with the holiday after this terrible thing had happened. And I actually felt then that my husband's mental health got left behind a little bit because mine was deteriorating, and therefore he had to take on the role as the responsible parent. And because I was so unwell, he's the one that had to get the kids ready every day. He had to drive the van while I just sort of wobbled in the passenger seat next to him, wondering whether I was going to have to go into a mental institution.
Well, what did it look like? You said you're bad for 3 weeks. What does that actually mean?
It doesn't look like anything. It was inside my head. You could never have guessed what was going on inside me. I felt like, again, that I was going mad and I was having anxiety. I felt like everybody I knew was going to die because I experienced the fragility of life right before me in that moment. And I saw that 1 minute my son was okay and the next minute he looked like he was dead. Yeah. And all of a sudden it felt like that was going to happen at any moment. So I felt like I was living on the edge. It changed over time. It got better each day. It was a very traumatic time for me.
Were you speaking to John about it?
I was speaking about it. I actually went and stayed in a hotel on my own because I felt like I couldn't burden anyone with this. I knew that it was something that I could get through, and I had to go and sleep it off because I wasn't sleeping. Sleep sometimes can obviously make you feel like you're going mad. And I had to try and get over it on my own and then get back into the situation, which is not a good way to deal with it. I should have just probably gone to see a doctor or a therapist or got some help from somewhere where I was away, where I was on holiday.
Did drinking ever cross your mind during
Not
that?
once.
Or would it have done a few years ago, I guess?
No, I don't think in that situation. It probably would have done a few years ago. I definitely would have numbed out that anxiety.
Well, go to a hotel room.
Of course. Yeah, I would have, that would have then spiralled out of control and I probably wouldn't be here right now. But in that situation, I was already 3 years sober and it never even crossed my mind.
Good.
And that is a point you can get to in sobriety where you just don't think about drinking anymore. I don't think about it hardly ever. Yeah. I don't want to do it because I know in those sorts of situations, I'm not mentally stable enough, Hamish, to be drinking. It causes me to have anxiety and my anxiety causes me to spiral. And I know that I am not emotionally stable enough to be able to do it anymore. So I know myself so well. But I do admit that at that time, I prioritise my mental health over my husband's, which I do feel terrible about. But he deals with things in a different way. And this is the problem that we're going to talk about today, is that my husband's very much of the point of view, this happened, let's get over it and get on with our lives. We're all here, we're all alive, let's carry on. Whereas women, I don't know, I'm not talking about all women, I'm not going to make any sweeping statements, but I think generally women go into the situation more and assess it and pull it apart, whereas he's just like, we're here, we're safe, we're fine, let's carry on with the holiday.
I wonder, though, whether or not that is how he is, how that is how man acts in that situation.
Yep.
Genuinely, or does a man feel obliged to act in that situation because in that particular day you were not in control? So he thought, right, I've got to put a brave face on here and be the leader of my family.
Yeah, I totally agree with you and I feel bad for it. But he had to take on the role of the caregiver right there because I wasn't capable of it. And I think it's like swings from person to person. If you're in a solid relationship, that situation will swing from one person to the other at some point.
Yes.
I mean, if he struggled, I would have to take on that role. And he's actually more mentally stable than I am. He's never had panic attacks or any mental health issues. So I am more prone to that sort of behaviour than he is. So he's obviously going to be the one that steps in. I think I would have used alcohol to bury those feelings before, and I think I am guilty of self-medicating my mental health in the past because it was easier than considering stopping. It was kind of a short-term high, so in that situation I could have had that short-term high and not dealt with the consequences. But imagine that, drinking in that situation because something's bad happened. It's just not a good idea. But I am a woman, so therefore I think I talk about what's going on with myself, whereas I feel that perhaps a man wouldn't. And I told everybody how I was feeling. I got home, I got a therapy session. I knew the tools I needed to put in place to make sure that I didn't spiral out of control. It's no secret that we feel closer to people and experience a deeper connection when we share our vulnerabilities together. It also makes us feel better to voice emotions rather than bottling them up.
So the question is, why do men in particular struggle to share in this way? So Vic, I'm reading a lot of Brene Brown at the moment, who's brilliant. She's got the big famous TED Talk, which has been viewed 70 million times.
I watched it, yeah.
And she says that for the most part, we still consider vulnerabilities to be a weakness rather than a strength.
Yeah.
And this seems to me to be the key issue. And it's so important that we shift this mindset and start seeing it as a strength and start sharing these things.
Yeah, it is such an old mindset. I think women are just as much to blame as seeing vulnerability as a weakness rather than a strength, particularly when we were growing up. I mean, I couldn't avoid it in the 80s. Do you think you acted differently based on what you thought women were attracted to, Haim?
So I reckon growing up when I was a teenager and first interested in women, when I really didn't understand women at all, I was always jealous of my friends that had sisters.
Yeah.
I was like, if you got a sister, you understand women. I only have one brother. I haven't got a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
So I would have said that women were looking for characteristics like bravery, strength, courage. They were things that were key to women and women's attention.
Yeah.
In short, you had to be a superhero. I had to be James Bond in order to win women's affections.
Yeah.
Is that what you were looking for in a man when you were growing up?
Well, yeah, all of those things. Back in the day, I just want somebody that was sort of quick-witted, kind, smart, the normal things, well-travelled, brave, stable, hung like a donkey.
Standard. How do you think that changed as you grew up and you started looking for a life partner rather than someone hot at a disco?
Well, I realised that I needed one thing out of that list, not donkey dick. No, really, I met my husband and he had no piercings, no tattoos, no addictions. So he was cool enough for me, and fast forward 17 years later, he's still that person. I'd been through a lot of losers and through experience realised that there's only one thing that was important to me, which was kindness. So it's interesting, as I do believe within this topic lingers a whiff of old-fashioned male-female roles. Men traditionally don't feel comfortable sharing how they feel because in the past they were not supposed to. Like alcohol, long-ingrained customs are hard to shift. So that's what we're talking about there with like showing you our perfect man. I had certain things that I wanted out of a man, and that's where men struggle, isn't it, Hamish? Because you're looking for something that he's brave and he's this and he's like James Bond and he's this superhero. Whereas in fact, we're not saying, well, actually, he's also a human and he's vulnerable and he has emotions and he gets scared. And like maybe we need to drum that into society a bit more.
But when we're teenagers, I'll tell you what, kindness only gets you one thing, which is friend-zoned. It seemed girls wanted the bad boy, girls wanted the smoker and the drinker, and the guy was kind of a dick to them. Yeah. They seemed to get all the girls. Kindness got you nowhere.
But that's something you learn over time, isn't it? Yeah. It's funny because that archaic mindset causes men to keep quiet when they should be talking. So we've established that men struggle to communicate on an emotional level that feels much easier to women. But the question remains why?
I've tried to simplify this into 3 reasons.
Right. Okay,
so the first is that we're brought up to believe what a man truly is. Okay, phrases like "don't cry," "be a brave boy," "who's a brave soldier." That's something you say to a toddler or whatever.
Yeah,
they're repeated and you're rewarded for being brave.
Yeah,
probably differently to the way that you would parent a girl. You wouldn't say things like, "be a brave soldier," maybe to a daughter.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
True. No, that's true.
And superheroes like Superman, Action Man, James Bond. Those are who we grew up with loving because we're little children. None of those are emotional. When has James Bond or Superman ever had a difficult emotional day?
Breakdown,
so we idolise cartoon characters or superheroes that only have one emotion, which is bravery, courage, save people.
Well, I think that's interesting because what you're saying is like in the media and everywhere we look, we're portraying men as being strong and being the one that stands up, like my husband in that situation. We're portraying them as the solid structure in the relationship that keeps everything together. And actually that's a really toxic message, isn't it? It's actually not true. And we need to level out this sort of male-female emotional bridge so that we can all cross it and meet somewhere in the middle. So what's your second point?
Okay, so my second one is that this is a generational problem. So from my experience, my dad, who is my big role model, is not emotional at all. Okay, and I think that's not uncommon in that generation above us. So I remember him saying, I interviewed him for a podcast about his dad dying. He was very young when his dad died.
Right.
And I said, did you cry? And he said, no, I don't remember crying. And he said, you can be sad without crying, which struck me as bizarre. But yeah, it's a fair point. Not everyone cries when they're sad. And I remember thinking, this is a generational thing. I saw my dad cry once and I didn't even see it. So he was telling us that his mum had died, my granny. And the way he did it is he turned me and my brother away from him. And he was standing with his hands on our shoulders. And he told us the news. And I could hear him crying and I could see my brother crying. And I remember trying to not cry. I was 7.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm not going to cry. Dad and my brother are crying. I'm not going to cry with this news. That was me being told my granny died.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a perfect example, isn't it, of like us hiding our emotions and
Yeah.
turning away from them and saying, look, I'm a man, I'm not going to cry in front of people. The older generation thought therapy or psychology, I think, was a waste of time. My dad certainly, you know, if I say I've been in therapy or I've got a psychiatrist session come up, he's like, waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really that attitude of just pull yourself together.
It's
What's wrong with you?
self-obsessed. It's talking about yourself. Like,
It's almost like an army attitude, like a post-war attitude. It's like, come on, chin up, we're British,
Yeah.
get on with it. Let's carry on, even though no matter what this has happened, let's get on with things.
And I guess that's because their parents were like that. It's not
Yeah.
their fault. That's what they saw. And
Yeah.
maybe we're the first generation to try and break that.
And
And if
I
we
guess-
go too far the other way
Yeah.
and we're super emotional, maybe that's what needs to happen in order to sort of
level it out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that generation as well, they'd been through a lot
Mm.
and they had to pull it all together, and they didn't have the money that we have now. Like my parents certainly didn't. They couldn't afford to have a psychiatrist or a therapist or somebody else step into their situation. They just had enough money to put a bit of lard on their bread in the morning. Like, it wasn't an easy life back then. So you couldn't spend money on frivolous things that we call now necessary things that our parents didn't have. And also I remember growing up, if somebody had a mental health issue, it was always sort of neighbours nudging each other or whispering over the garden fence as they hung their washing on the line. It used to be something like Steve down the road has had a breakdown, or Linda at number 23's gone loony. There was never a mention of, oh, somebody is having mental health issues.
Yeah.
It was just a judgment. Oh, they're mad. Let's
Stay
stay away.
Yeah.
Let them deal with it. I mean, I remember playing conkers with Linda down the road. She was a bit mad, but she was a good conker player. Yeah, so it's a generational thing here that we're talking about how men have dealt with their emotions over the last 100 years, let's say, and how that's changing now, and we're starting to understand how men have the same needs as women emotionally.
Yeah. And my third point, which is kind of the result of the first two, so a result of us being brought up to understand what a man is, and also the generational problem of our parents generally not being too emotional, is that this can create toxic masculinity. Publicly, we act in a way that we believe to be overly masculine. We drink beer, we discuss sport, we do not talk about our emotions, and this can leave you feeling really trapped. We'll do an episode about sport and about changing room culture, and also stag do's. The way that we act in these groups of men is not how we act when we're alone. It's just so alpha male, it's so toxic. Like I said earlier, it's very difficult to have conversations in that group unless you have got a sister or a friend who's a girl or a partner. There are people that I know who are blokes who are, that is a person I can call in that situation.
Yeah.
But I would say they are 1 in 15 of my friends.
I don't think many people have that male friend. Like, many guys I know don't have that male friend, because often when you go out in a drinking situation, for example, you're with a group of people, it's that tribal mentality, you're watching the footy. There's no situation there where you can express yourself. Whereas generally, I know we're making a few sweeping statements in this podcast today, but we're trying to make a general assumption here that women, we're more likely to sit down and have a cup of tea. We're more likely to go for a run on the beach or a walk together, or sit and have a picnic over, an alcohol-free beer or whatever. And we're more generally going to be opening up about our emotions, because that's how we connect on that level as mothers and as women and as people. We connect a lot easier. And for men, the situations that you bond in often can be quite chaotic, like a match or even just going to the pub with a few mates. And I think men find it difficult to create situations where you wouldn't phone someone up and just go, should we go for a pint just on our own? Well, not anymore, Hamish. You'd go for a fizzy water. But I think men would find it hard to phone up another guy and say, look, I'm not feeling great. Can we go for a drink and talk about this?
Well,
and
you want to know what's strange is I have done that, only masking it behind a podcast.
Okay.
So I've said, can I interview you for a podcast?
Yeah.
And in that space, you can talk for an hour. I've done about grief. Can I talk about your grief for an hour?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you lots of questions. You don't have to ask me any, because this is about you.
Yeah.
And in that space, and it's going to be this long, it's going to be an episode, people are happy to share.
Yeah.
But doing that conversation in a pub or at someone's house,
Yeah.
I've very rarely managed to do.
So it's like giving up alcohol in a way. It's like you've got to create safe spaces for yourself as people. You've got to create places that you're comfortable in and that you can share what's really going on, because we don't care about all the other bullshit, all the frivolous conversations about the weather and about all the other stuff. Those conversations, those deep conversations that you have with mates about your true feelings can be life-saving.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so bottling up of emotions can often lead to an increase in consumption of alcohol.
And the effects of this can be deadly.
Alcohol is effectively used in 3 ways to medicate and cure the problem of pent-up emotions. Alcohol gets us to open up.
Alcohol is used to numb any emotions.
And using alcohol as a means of feeling connected. So what we're doing there with all of those things is actually drowning out what's going on, getting a few beers down our neck and pretending it's not okay, and then waking up the next morning with exactly the same problem, but with a hangover on top of it.
Just never addressing the issue.
Yeah, never addressing the issue, and then the ball keeps rolling and gathering speed, and that's when your mental health will start to spiral out of control. So it's so dangerous. So what really we wanted to do this podcast today, because Hamish is here to give the male perspective on this. And it's just so fascinating to hear, Hamish, that, you know, men do feel like this. And I do feel sort of responsible in some way. And I think as women as well, we can help by nudging you, not like we don't nag you enough, by poking you and saying, are you okay? And do you want to talk about something? Because I think we can have that role as well. It doesn't have to be you talking to a male. It can be you talking to me or, you know, anyone.
It's funny because actually talking to your partner can be the hardest person to speak to as well.
Yeah.
Because that's almost, you'd want a wife or a partner to say, do you want to talk to someone about it that's not me? You know, talk to that friend of yours. Try and be the middle person to initiate that conversation could be equally helpful.
So true.
So how do we change the way that we approach discussions of this kind to encourage more men in particular to talk?
The Men's Line Australia website suggests a few ideas which I think are brilliant. New non-traditional ways of providing support. Hamish, I think you're going to tell us about One Wave.
Yeah, so One Wave is fantastic. It is a mental health group. They meet at the beach. I used to do it in Bondi, but beaches all over Australia do. Actually, all over the world, I think. And you meet up. Everyone wears fluoro because mental health is invisible. So we wear fluoro so everyone can see us.
Right.
And you sit in a circle and there'll be some sort of topic, but generally people are sharing their experiences of mental health in a really safe space. And then everyone will either go for a surf or do a yoga session, and then everyone goes for a coffee afterwards. And that idea of sitting in a circle with complete strangers and everyone's dressed up, I loved it. I actually found far more comfortable discussing this sort of stuff with a complete group of strangers than I did people that I knew or a therapist.
Because you're not going to be judged because you know they're there for the same reason.
Yeah.
Changing the messaging and language around this topic. For example, counsellors are changed to use a style that's based around communicating about goals and solutions rather than just talking about feelings. So we're saying they're more structured help. It can be you sitting with a mate, but also you can find someone who really knows how to pin down what is going on with you.
Yeah, and that use of language can be really effective. Providing support specifically for men communicate differently to women, obviously. There's plenty of arguments about that.
Yeah.
And implementing some really simple concepts such as shoulder-to-shoulder conversations with minimal eye contact have had a huge difference. I actually did not know that until I read this one.
So that is a fact.
Yeah, have a conversation side by side rather than let's sit opposite and talk about our emotions.
Yeah, that would
Men
work.
might feel uncomfortable having an eye-to-eye emotional talk, whereas side-to-side, like I said, One Wave, we're sitting in a circle, so that is shoulder-to-shoulder. Makes a lot of sense.
Does make sense. That's interesting. So just asking the question, are you okay, in a quiet, safe space over a coffee or after a surf is really going to help. Check in with your mates. Sobriety helps with this. It allows deeper connections with people. And that's something that I've changed a lot with. As before, I had panic attacks and I was embarrassed to tell people about myself when I was in my early 20s. But as I got older, I educated myself about my mental health and understood that the only way that I was going to get better was to actually talk about it. And that's what I've done. And that's how I now know, even though I do wobble occasionally, I do know I'll be all right.
Yeah.
I won't let it get to the point where I'm feeling suicidal, for example, because I know the steps that I have to take, and that is to get somebody else to step in to help me.
Yeah. On that, actually, a friend of mine, Albie, always talks about asking, how are you today?
Yes.
Just saying, how are you? Adding today rather than how are you is such an easy way to make people actually tell you how they feel.
Brilliant. Yeah. How are you feeling like right now? Yeah. How are you actually feeling right now?
Yeah.
Like really try and pin it down.
Yeah, the biggest lesson that I've learnt through all this, which I love to share, is that I was under the impression that my friends and family didn't want to hear me complaining about struggles in my life.
Yeah.
And they didn't want me to ruin their day by telling them about my heartbreak or any other problems. But the truth is this: by not sharing with them, I was inadvertently sending them the message that I don't want to hear their stories when they're in a similar position. And that is such a dangerous loop that keeps us from true connection.
That is a brilliant paragraph there, Hamish. That is so true. So by not talking about it, we're creating this sort of vicious cycle of being alone in our own heads and suffering.
Yeah. And also, I think feeling every emotion that there is to feel, it's awful at the time, but it's the best way to connect with someone. So that, you've got children. Imagine your 18-year-old son comes home and has gone through a breakup, and you can be like, I know, I know there's nothing I can say to make you feel better, but I was in your shoes 40 years ago and I get it.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful way to connect with someone.
Yeah. And I think it's a shame nowadays too, like, we see everybody on Instagram, on Facebook and the highlights of our lives and how wonderful we are. But I do see a change happening where people are starting to share their troubles a bit more. You see the odd crying photo and people really putting it out there if they're in hospital or having mental health issues. And that helps, that stuff. It takes away the stigma for men particularly, that look, it's okay. We're all fucked up. We're all mental. One of our favourite sayings on this podcast, Hamish, is fucked up but trying to do better. And that's all we are. We're just humans and we're trying to do our best. Everybody knows life isn't perfect. So the more you're open about your fuck-uppery, the better. If someone you know is struggling mentally, you might not be able to see it. They will look okay, say, yeah, I'm fine, and seem to be getting on with life. When in fact, they could be keeping their true feelings under wraps because they're embarrassed, scared, or don't want to burden you with their issues. Keep asking if you're worried. That one question means you care, and sometimes that one thing is enough.
And if it's you that's struggling, one of the best things you can do is to stop drowning it out with booze. Doing that won't solve a damn thing. Instead, take the steps you need to get better. Answer that friend honestly and be kind to yourself for once. Get help.
Yeah, as they say, this is so true. You can't solve your own problems with the same thinking that created them. I mean, that was something I definitely had to learn. Yeah. So yes, Hamish, we need to talk about your challenge.
Oh, yes, it is challenge time.
Yes, it's challenge week, yeah. So this week, I was trying to, flicking through the files of my brain to come and think of something really horrible to do to you.
Thank you.
But actually, I've come up with something brilliant. I was looking at the Night Quarter here on the Sunshine Coast. They run a cocktail night.
Okay.
And it's on every weekend. And I phoned the lady up and said, hello, look, we have a podcast with Nova and I would like to bring my friend Hamish down and I'd like to do a pub crawl. So on Saturday, Hamish, you and I are going on a pub crawl, an alcohol-free pub crawl.
I thought you were going to say you're going to make me smell every cocktail when I wasn't allowed to drink it.
The lady's organising it for us, bless her. Yes.
What are we drinking?
No idea. We've got to turn up. We're bringing mates with us. We can bring whoever we want, and they're going to take us on a pub crawl.
That's amazing.
And they're going to supply all alcohol-free drinks the whole way. And we've got to mingle like we would if we were drinking.
Dance.
And we've got to get on. We've got to dance. We're going to have a party. We're going to have a good night. So,
that sounds amazing.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to it. So, yeah, we're going to get dolled up and go out.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. We'll end this one with a Brene Brown quote because I said I've been reading a lot of her. Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage.
That's so true. I love Brene Brown. So
She's
yeah,
the best.
I highly recommend any of her books or anything if you're on this sober journey or any sort of mental health journey. It's a real uplifting journey that she's had as well, isn't it?
Should we go check if Alan's blocked the loo?
I don't know whether he's blocked the loo. I think he might have spattered it.
Yeah, there's nothing to block the loo with his stomach.
We better go and check he's all right though, hadn't we? Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're questioning your relationship with booze, you're struggling to moderate, or your hangovers are causing anxiety, it might be time to reach out for some support.
Yeah, just talk to a mate about how you're feeling, contact a local doctor, find an AA or sobriety group. Vic's got one.
Yeah, just head to www.cuppa.community.
Remember, if you're questioning yourself, it might be time to seek support.
Even though this journey can be awkward, it is definitely worth it. And if you've enjoyed the Sober Awkward podcast, don't forget to review it, rate it, and share it with your mates.
They have to share it with their mates?
Yeah, of course they do. I'm not doing this for nothing, Hamish. Bloody hell.
How do they share it?
I don't know, just write it on the...
Hi there. I wanted to tell you about a podcast that I think every single one of you will benefit from. It's called Therapy Works, and it's hosted by me, Julia Samuel. I'm a best-selling author and psychotherapist. I invite you into my therapy room where I speak to either a known or unknown guest. Topics range from the difficulties of divorce, a life-changing illness, to the struggles of motherhood. Search Therapy Works now, wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode.
Vic, so do you fancy coming on a sober holiday?
Don't worry, we're not talking about some corporate wellness retreat with cucumber water and enforced eye contact.
No, this is a sober awkward retreat. 8 days of sun, sweat, laughter, and absolutely no hangovers.
Yep, it's all happening in Thailand next October. Picture this: yoga at sunrise, writing workshops, ice baths, Thai boxing, and lots of awkward sober dancing under the stars.
It's a proper holiday with proper weirdos, our kind of people.
Yeah. You'll meet legends who've also given the booze a boot and want to have fun without feeling like a social reject.
Come solo or grab a mate. Bring your awkward, bring your sun cream. No pressure, no judgment, just a big, warm, sober hug in paradise.
All the info is at soberawkward.com/retreats. Come and get sweaty with us, emotionally and physically, in our all-inclusive jungle resort. You'll start out as 15 strangers and leave with 15 new sober mates.
I'm not sure I want 15 new sober mates, actually, particularly sober ones.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're not invited then.
Hannah Burner, are those the cozy Tommy John pajamas you're buying?
Paige DeSorbo, they are Tommy John. And yes, I'm stocking up because they make the best holiday gifts.
So generous.
Well, I'm a generous girly, especially when it comes to me. So I'm grabbing the softest sleepwear, comfiest underwear, and best fitting loungewear.
So nothing for your bestie.
Of course, I'm getting my dad, Tommy John. Oh, and you, of course.
It's giving holiday gifting made easy.
Exactly. Cozy, comfy, everyone's happy. Gift everyone on your list, including yourself, with Tommy John and get 40% off site-wide right now at TommyJohn.com/comfort.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
So, as you probably know, my comedy memoir, 1,000 Wasted Sundays, is officially out. All my magnificent fuck-uppery in one awkward hit. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy, it's now available from all good bookstores.
We always say all good bookstores, don't we?
Yeah.
Are there bad
No,
bookstores?
it's probably ones with moody sellers.
Oh yeah, really
Yeah.
depressed librarian folk.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah. So there are probably some, but we're only storing it in the good ones.
It's only made it into the goodies.
You can also get it from all good online retailers. The print version and ebook are out now, and the audiobook will be available in March. I've been writing my memoir for 5 years. It will make you laugh, cry and cringe, and hopefully inspire a few people to reconsider their relationship with booze. If you love the podcast, then I think you'll love the book, even if I do say so myself. Hamish has read it. What did you think?
I feel like I know a little bit too much about you now, to be honest, Vic. Look, I really loved it. It was hilarious and surprisingly moving, but I feel like I've seen you naked in a literary sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's worrying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From an emotional point of view, seriously,
It wobbled my teeny weeny wooden heart, Vic.
Okay.
My teeny little wooden heart.
Well, his wooden heart is broken. Anyway, so if you do manage to get your filthy mitts on a copy, please do me a favour and head to goodreads.com and give me a review. Doing that will help me get it out there to those that need a bit of sober support. So there you have it. My story, unwanted warts and all. Come and get awkward with me.
Not to be too demanding or anything, but seriously, go and buy it now.
Yeah, go and buy it. Go and buy it right now.
Yeah, don't just tell your friends, buy it, and then buy your friends one or two.
Yeah, don't give them a copy.
Yeah.
Buy it, yeah.
And you know what? Don't be careful where you store it. If you lose it, you can always buy another 5.
Buy another one.
Yeah.